So I'm about to present a cool lecture on how to heal horses faster. How to make sure I ensure that I get 50 to 100% faster healing on horses that are difficult to heal, whether it's bone infections, wounds, any kind of difficult diseases to heal. Hi, I'm Alberto Rullan. Welcome to our channel, all about equine. Hey, we're here at Epic today. It took me about 10 years to do the presentation that I'm going to do today, that I'm going to present. I have been studying this, perfectioning this, and finally now, 10 years later, I can do a nice presentation about how to heal horses faster than any other process there is available out there. Thank you so much for coming. Before I start, I have to do two great recognitions because Harper has put a fantastic event here. Can we please give Harper a round of applause? Thank you, Harper. In addition, wasn't that food really good? Let's give another round of applause for the food. Thank you so much. Then for the next 20 to 25 minutes, you are doomed. Because I have an accent and you're gonna have to put up with it. So in this picture, this is my horse Taury. In this picture, I was 6 years old. And by then I had 6 years of riding experience. When I was 8 years old, I remember coming home from school one day and my grandma, with tears in her eyes, she was, "Oh, Alberto, I have some terrible news." I said, "What happened?" She said, "Your dad was riding your horse and they got hit by a truck." I couldn't fathom that and I was like, "What happened to my horse?" So she said, "Your dad's at the hospital now and we're waiting for someone to help." But the next day, I went to see my horse and I realized that my horse suffered for hours and hours because there was not one veterinarian in town to treat the horse. And he obviously was put to sleep. So that day, I made a decision that I was going to become a horse veterinarian that fixes legs. And that's how this started. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And of course, I love milking cows. That's just such a good thing to do. So I want to show you today for the next 20-25 minutes, or if you stop me before I'll do it, I want to show you how we treat difficult cases, because one of my hopes, as you know my story, is that you never encounter a difficult case. However, we know that horses eat for 8 hours, sleep for 8 hours, and try to kill themselves for another 8 hours, right? So there's a high chance that if you have a horse, you might have a problem at some point, and hopefully you know what to do. So I'm going to show you some cases so you see how we help some horses that have had no help before. This is a cool mare that her name is Willow, and she was 4 years old when she showed up. She was a Thoroughbred show horse actually, and she presented 5 out of 5 lame. I'm going to show you what that means. That means that she was basically, she couldn't put weight on the other leg, right? And it says 5 years old over here, but she was 4. She was treated with an antibiotic because she jumped a fence, and when she landed, somehow magically, her shoe come off and she landed on a nail from the same shoe, horses. So she was treated and didn't respond. Then they did an MRI on her and they found out that it was the navicular bursa was injected. And let me show you, soon I'll show you what that means. She was treated with antibiotic aggressively as much as they could. She went to surgery for it, and she still was what we call 5 out of 5. And to show you what the navicular bursa is, it's a structure that comes right up here. So the chew came off, a nail came all the way here, and it got here in that bone, right there. So 6 weeks after the initial surgery, Willow was still 5 out of 5 lame with severe changes in her navicular bone. And for those of you who have ever dealt with a regular navicular horse, you could probably imagine that it's painful. Imagine now of a navicular horse that is infected, right? So this is a radiograph of Willow, and it just shows that this bone is basically disappearing. You don't see the bone there, and it's not because you're not a vet, it's because it's not there, right? It's disappearing. So this is just more x-rays to show how that bone is starting to come apart. But what I want to get, this is how she came when she presented. I'm going to play it again just in case you didn't see the lameness. So she's lame right front, right? And I know for those of you in the back, by the way, you still understand me? Understand my accent? Yeah? If you don't, raise your hand. For those of you in the back, you might not see it, but this is a culture and sensitivity for this mare. It's a bunch of R's. What does that mean? That is the absolute worst infection you could ever see in your life, because he's resistant to every single antibiotic tested. So that's what that R means. So far she had received surgery, she had received more surgery, and then she even has something called street nail procedure, which is back in the days, they used to, when a nail got into the shoe, through the foot, they would cut a window through the tendon and open that up and let it drain. She even had that, and that showed absolutely no result. So that's when she finally came to us. And we're like, hey, we don't know what to do. We have never seen this. We have no idea how to treat it. But we call people all over the United States, and they say, okay, hey, you have a chamber. Why don't you just put it in the chamber? Someone from Australia, her name was Shalina. And we're like, yeah, well, we have, this is not supposed to heal. But we did it anyway. The owner was she was a helicopter pilot, and she was aggressive. She was, let's do it. So we did. We put her in the chamber 2 times a day, and we didn't stop any of the other treatments. So basically, it was a control study on its own. We continue everything else the same. And this is how she looked like 4 days after. Bear in mind, she arrived 6 weeks. And now we're like, that thing is starting to put some weight on it. This is 2 weeks later. Bear in mind, she's going to the hyperbaric chamber every day, twice a day, and then she's getting all the antibiotics, all the what we call the regional lymph perfusion, everything. Even if she was resistant to the antibiotics, you might say, well, if she's resistant, why do you have any antibiotics? I'll tell you soon. So she got 2 hyperbaric chambers twice a day. She got Banamine, she got colloidal silver. Why colloidal silver? Because the owner had it in colloidal silver when she was at home, so we didn't want to change anything. We wanted to keep the study the same. So we gave her a poor to grave prognosis, which is this is going to be tough. And this bone, this is what she looked like later. Much better, right? So now, what happened with this? Oh, hey, now we treat something we know. We have an idea on how to treat a case that didn't have any possible solution in the past. So we also did a control study, theoretically, because we changed absolutely nothing. We just added oxygen. The reason the oxygen works is because it makes the antibiotics work better. So it potentiates the antibiotics. That's what the oxygen does. In addition to that, the oxygen gets into the bone easier when it's in the chamber because it has oxygen pressurized right there inside. Then we learn. And we have another case several years later. This time was a 12-year-old warm blood mare that was used for hunters. And this horse had an intrasynovial injection in the navicular bursa. For those of you who gets the navicular bursa injected in horses, it's a good thing, but they can get infected. And this particular one got infected, right? And the same, we did an MRI on her. The MRI showed, yes, it's infected, the bone is involved, this is a problem. So this is how she presented. Lane. This time on the left front. Very similar than Willow. So now the horse comes sooner than the previous horse, and we tell the owner, hey, we have seen this case before. The previous case got surgery, got bursoscopy, got a street nail procedure, and 6 weeks later, it was not working. Why would you like to try getting into the chamber right away? She said, yes. And then we didn't change anything that we did for Willow, right? We still did the antibiotics, we still did the anti-inflammatories, and we did the chamber. And this is how she looked like 42 days after, 42 hyperbaric chambers after. So it's a disease that's not supposed to survive. Now we have helped the horse quite a bit. So how does this happen? Every time there is a joint injection, there could be an infection. So it's very important. We are very clean about it, but it is a possible contamination. Also, shoes. Shoes can get through the bursa and cause an infection, and also in the bone, all right? So there are a bunch of studies showing that it doesn't work, that it's difficult to heal. That's what I wanted to show you that, but I'm going to move on because we have to move on and go to our next case soon. There is a study that shows that the hyperbaric chamber, also, in case you didn't know, because I used this for human data, releases stem cells from the bone marrow 100% more than the patients that don't get stem cells. So if you ever have problems, I want you to talk to your human veterinarian about hyperbaric oxygen chamber, okay? So that's one of the mode of action. The other mode of action is makes antibiotics work better. And we already talked about that. And of course, there's research to show that. Now, let me show you how else we can use this how else we help difficult cases heal. Check this out. For those of you who have ever seen dorsal cannon bone injuries, you know that these things could take and drag. Have anybody ever seen one of these? Yeah. Have you ever tried to heal it within 45 days before a show? So, this is how you do it. You take that horse and you do absolutely everything that you would do, including stem cells, amnion membrane, which means placenta, and hyperbaric chamber. And the only reason I don't have the fully healed wound is because the horse had to go to London for an FEI competition. So that's why I don't have the final picture over here. But this happened between 1 and 45 days, which if you have ever managed such a wound in a dorsal cannon bone, you know that is pretty significant. Now, check about this one. In this one, we actually did a control study because we had a horse, like the previous one you saw, that was able to do the chamber, and this particular one did not do the chamber. So in this one, this is how it looked like after a year. And this is how typically they do. But back in the days, we just didn't have the data to tell you, to tell every horse owner. But this is what we can do now. Versus this particular horse came at the same time than the previous horse. And it was a year later. And look at the age of this horse. This horse was a yearling that they're supposed to heal really fast. But these wounds are just a nightmare. but we can help these wounds out, and they do actually really good. Check out this one. This one's almost incredible. The only, it's difficult for me to believe this, but this is a 30-day progression. So this horse, there's a cool story about this horse. This horse was near Highway 225. You know where 225 and 326? Around that area? Well, that horse, a Sunday at midnight, decided to hit the gate and go on the road with a bunch of his friends. And in the process of doing that, a truck was coming in, and he hit several of his friends, which ended up coming here as well. He didn't have such bad luck, but he ran so hard that he slid on the cement, and then he had this road burn, and that's how that happened. Because they just love to do funny things. The owner didn't think it was funny, right? But this horse got hyperbaric oxygen chamber. You see how this wound started dying here, right? And look how healthy it looks after 5 days. Then after 15 days, 30 days, laser and chamber, it's gone. The problem gone. Problem no more. How cool is that? So now we have a way to treat wounds that heal faster, better, and get smaller quickly.
What laser were you using?
I'm sorry?
You said laser too. What laser did you use?
That one was a class 3. Okay. Yes. 5 minutes. Oh, it's true. I only have 5 minutes. All right, I'll be quick. Am I that bad? You want me out of 5 minutes? Okay, good. So check this horse out. This one is a Thoroughbred gelding, 3-year-olds in racing. And she presented 5 out of 5 lame. That means like 3-legged, right? Now, after the horse came, the radiograph showed this. And you don't have to be a veterinarian to know that this is a very difficult fracture. For those of you old enough, and maybe you were in the racehorse industry, in 2006, there was a very famous horse that got an injury similar to this. His name was Barbaro. And it became very, very, very interesting news, right? It happened that I was lucky enough to see him because I was a student at the school that Barbaro went. So as soon as I saw this fracture, I was like, I've seen this before. I know what's coming, right? So the owner was lucky enough to actually try to save that horse. And if you remember the beginning of my presentation, that is my purpose, right? Be able to help horses that otherwise did not have any help, because that's what happened to my own horse. So now I had the chance to do it. A great surgeon at Ocala Equine Hospital did this. His name is Dr. Madison. And then after surgery, that's when the challenge starts, because then when you can get infections, you can get cellulitis, you can get all the nightmares that could happen afterwards. So this is how he looked like after his first therapies. And now he is a happy camper, living a nice life with his little friends. And I don't think I have an update video, or maybe I do. Right there. So he still have a little bit of a limp, but think about this. It's not necessarily a painful limp, it's what's called a mechanical limp, because those joints are fused, okay? So that's him. And that is more than 7 years later. So lastly, check out this really interesting mare. This is a very large and deep wound. You want to know how deep? I'll show you soon. So this is how she walks. So she's lame. Which leg? Left front. Hey, it could be the hind. This is how deep. Right? So what am I doing here? I'm removing pieces of wood from that injury because she decided to run in a wood pole. At least she did it during the day. It was not at midnight. So here I palpated something interesting. I palpated what eventually I was able to ultrasound, a scapular fracture. You see this line over here? That means that the shoulder blade is broken. So what do? You got it. We sutured it up, we patched it up, we put it on antibiotics. We told the owner, hey, this might not heal. But we knew that we had something under our sleeve. So this is how she looked like after a month. Same treatment, okay? Antibiotics, first aid, and the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And this is how she looked like afterwards. Now, lastly, people found out about us. People found out about us in Animal Kingdom. So, what happened was that there was a gorilla in Animal Kingdom that was colicky constantly, and it was not getting better. Oh, my time is up, I'm sorry. I can? Is that okay? All right. So this gorilla, her name is Lily, and she was just not getting better. You can imagine in Animal Kingdom, they have every single piece of equipment, right? So they eventually found the problem. Don't make fun of me, okay? But the problem was that she had gas, but not in the intestine, not outside the intestine, just had gas between the line of the intestines that she couldn't fart. And that was causing a huge colic episode. She was miserable. So somehow they found about us, and they say, hey, do you think this can help? Hey, that's my specialty, doing things that I don't know about. So I said, why not? Let's do it. So Animal Kingdom rented the whole place. We evacuated the whole thing. And Lily came with at least 50 people. But before she came, it took her a year to come. Imagine being painful for a year, colicking for a year. Why? Because when you're a gorilla, you need it's not a regular health certificate that the vet signs up and sends you out, you know. They need to get you some important permits. They need to get a cage, specially made cage that costs many commas. Plus, then the cage needed to comply with our requirements because we were not going to put a cage inside our chamber that was risky. So it took a year, to make the story short, it took a year to have Lily come and get treated. And all we wanted to do, I'm going to show you a cool video about it. Has anyone seen this? Where is it? In where? In Disney Plus. So this is in Disney Plus. So Lily was famous. So you see the cage, she came in that cage. That cage took forever to build, a year to be precise, almost. And this is her. And then I went on top and checking on her. I don't know why, because I couldn't see anything, but I tried. Because she was inside with a bunch of padding, and she was mildly sedated. She wasn't fully knocked out. She was mildly sedated. And all we were doing, to our knowledge, this is the first gorilla to ever be in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. The very first one. So that's why it's the whole production coming to see her. And what we were trying to do is make those bubbles that were causing her colic, air bubbles. We were trying to pressurize the bubbles and make the bubbles small enough to make them disappear with the pressure. So we were taking an air pressure and compressing it with a chamber and oxygen. And we were so nervous because now we have a metal cage inside a metal cage with a lot of oxygen. And for those of you who are in the fire department, you know that oxygen, metal, movement, spark could be very dangerous, right? But we took all the precautions, we put all the padding necessary, and we also had water going in constantly. So we made a kind of rain. There was a rainforest inside there because it's more difficult to have a fire when there is a lot of humidity, of course. And she did great. She came out, she did it 2 times, and she didn't have colics again. So, in summary, the hyperbaric chamber is safe. It does not have to be the last resort. We could go to this therapy first. The earlier we do it, the better. It increases cell release, so we have even more stem cells flowing because of it. And it also increases antimicrobial activity. Thank you very much. Do not forget, I'm going to leave you with this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to leave you with this. Every horse deserves a chance to heal.